We turn now to page 142 as we welcome in Shabbat with Shalom Aleichem. Page 138, Lechadodi. And, you know, I know that for many people tonight around the world, tonight is a night of celebration. But for us, Shabbat every week is a moment of celebration. It's like going to a wedding. It's like a big party. And so we're going to sing about that. 138.
אחד ושמה אחד לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה לך נורי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך נורי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה שבת לכו ונלכה כי היא מקור הברכה מראש מכן משוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך join us please לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה verse 5 התעוררי התעוררי כי באורך כוני אורי 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 שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך ניתנה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבל יא לה 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 לה
rise and face the entrance to greet Shabbat.
בעיר שלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך
Seated, and now that we've greeted Shabbat formally with Lahadodi, we'll also greet Shabbat with the lighting of our Shabbat candles and the welcoming of light into our world as we end one week and go into a moment of reflection and thoughtfulness. Please join in with us.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Turn to the Hatzi Kaddish on page 144. Amen.
ובזמן הקריב ואמרו
Amen.
יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עולמיה
יתברך
יתברך וישתבח וידבר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי דקודשה
Frihu.
לעילה מן גברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירת ביעלמה וימרו.
Amen. We rise for our call to worship, the Baruch Hu on page 146. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed Le'olam va'ed Yalai lai lai 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 Page 148. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening.
Baruch atah Adonai, Hamari Aravi.
Page 150. It's important for us Jews and us Jewish kids to remember, even on Christmas, that we are loved. Page
Always.
150.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Ahavta Amcha Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Ukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadita Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochareinu Umeinu nasiach b'chukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha U'v'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed Ki הם חיינו ויורק ימינו ובהם נגי יומם ולילה נגי יומם ולילה ואהבת אל תעשי ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל אוהב עמו ישראל
152.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם
One of the things I love about the moment when we crossed the Sea of Reeds was that up until this point, our people had never been made to feel like they were special. They had always been othered and punched down whenever they tried to speak up for themselves. And it was really in this moment that for the first time in generations and generations and generations, they said, we aren't like everybody else, but we're special, and we are loved, and we can celebrate being ourselves and being free, not only from bondage, but free to be us. So let's celebrate the uniqueness that each of us has, and also let's pray that people everywhere will be able to recognize their own holiness and how the things that maybe make them different or what also makes them special. Page 158.
Join in the nigun. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la ya la la. Mi kama khamai li madonna, mi kama khaneda rakosh nora ila asife. Together, Baruch atah Adonai, Gad Yisrael.
We turn to page 160 and pray that God watches over all of us. And I always think this time of year, too, of those who are unsheltered, maybe a bit more vulnerable during these winter cold days. Page 160.
Hashkivinu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'ha'amideinu shomreinu l'chayim, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Let's do that together again. Beautiful. Hashkivinu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'ha'amideinu shomreinu l'chayim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath your wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. Hashkivinu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'ha'amideinu shomreinu l'chayim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. Baruch atah Adonai, haporeh sukat shalom aleinu, haporeh sukat shalom aleinu, el kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. And we remember that more than the Jewish people have kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jewish people. And so we turn and celebrate that on page 162 with the singing of Vishamro.
Leshameru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לגרתם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת
We rise for the Amidah, page 164.
Adonai שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. That my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Eloi Avoteinu v'Imateinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'elah hagadol, hagibor v'hanora, El Elyon, gomel chasadim atovim, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם, ועזרת שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה, רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם. מחכה לחיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופאי חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. והכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Continue silently on our own. If you wish, we are on page 172, and you can continue through page 180, or you can use this for your own prayers, and when you're finished, you may be seated.
Join me if you can. Oh, say shalom Ibrahima, uyase shalom aleinu v'yata Yisrael le'ilenu.
At this time, we think about those in our community and their loved ones who could use a prayer for healing, the healing of the mind, body, and spirit, and those who are in a period of recovery as well. And we do so on page 371 with the singing of the Mishaberach.
This is Lisa Levine's, loosely based on the one you see there. Mishaberach Avoteinu, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Mishaberach Imateinu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, and Rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well.
This week, we think of these members of our community and their loved ones. Avraham, Shlomo ben Yochanan v'Simcha, Lima Rachel, Hannah, Elchanan Yitzhak ben Shamshin Pinchas, Kitalea bat Mashachana, Yitzhak David ben Aryeh, Barbara Arnovitz, Ariana Berenson, Denise Dobling, Alexander Dolowitz, David Dowsett, Shulamit Marguerite Shlomeris Epstein, Yitzhak Figilski, Will Goldman, Sharon Katz, Jeffrey W. Levy, Mary Jane Levy-Dixon, Megan Magleby, Janet S. Morley, Shari Pedersen, Ina Sable, Penny Spector, Linda Stern, Robert Warners, and Judy Wolf. And if you have a name to add when I look in your direction, you're welcome to share with us as well. Pete? No? If you have a name at home to share, you're also invited to do so.
Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Misheberach avodeinu, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Misheberach imoteinu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, Rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer.
Hear our prayer.
Hear our prayer.
Hear our prayer.
Hear our prayer. Hear our prayer. And bless us as well. Hear our prayer. Hear our prayer. Hear our prayer. Oh, hear our prayer. And bless us as well.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Now, with all my traveling and everything, one of the things that I've really come to love is trying foods from other countries and learning about other cultures through their food. And in this, I've found that there's only one type of cuisine that I consistently don't care a whole lot for. And it pains me today to say that that's Chinese food. I eat Chinese food exactly 2 days a year. Today and tomorrow. And that is for religious observances only. It's kind of like I'm not eating matzah and gefilte fish other times of the year. If I'm eating matzah or gefilte fish, I know that it's Passover. If I'm eating Chinese food, I know it is either the evening of December 24th or it is December 25th. That is true. But, despite that, on these 2 days, I'm sure I wish that we ate something else, but I love eating Chinese food on these 2 days. And I thought about this the other day as I drove down. Oh, you know what? Somebody told me the other day that they can't read my lips when I have my mask on and I give my sermon, so let me do that. And it's hard for them to understand me. So the other day, I drove down Murray Holiday Road, and I saw outside the Honeybee Ham store an entire external tent with a line around the corner of people lining up to buy their Christmas hams. And in that moment, again, I was like, I kind of feel good about eating the Chinese food. And you know what? Even though I don't care much for Chinese food, I'm kind of glad that of these 2 days, that these are the only 2 days of the year that I eat it, because it makes it stand out all the more so to me And it's a reminder to me that I stand out all the more. You know, that's actually ultimately why I keep kosher, too. It's not that I think God will hate me if I have a bacon cheeseburger. It's just that I have 3, or if I'm not behaving myself, 4 or 5 opportunities a day to remind myself that there's something special and unique and different about me. And not every Jewish person loves that, by the way. Not every Jewish person likes that. You know, there are some folks who, in the late 18th century in Germany, people were saying maybe we should all convert to Christianity. Then there would be no more anti-Semitism, and wouldn't it be great if we were the same? And in fact, a lot of the founders of the Soviet Union and the Communist Party and the Bolsheviks were Jewish for that same reason. Well, if we all just get rid of religion and we're all the same, no more anti-Semitism. Things will be good. And even Theodor Herzl, the founder of the Zionist movement, before he had his Zionist awakening, he advocated that Jews everywhere should all convert to Catholicism because then if we fit in with everyone else, our lives would be better. And fitting in with everybody else, I don't know about you, but that's not something I particularly want. I've always thought that one of the worst things you could call somebody is normal. And, I mean, that's so boring. And so I'm not upset that tonight I'm not celebrating Christmas like everyone else. Because days like today, especially in Utah, especially in the U.S., give me cognizance of who I am. And that's great. And that's something not a lot of folks have. I mean, you turn on Fox News and they're talking about the war on Christmas. And I'm like, walk one day in my shoes, any day, the week of or after Thanksgiving. Like, you won't think there's a war on Christmas. That's fine. It makes me thoughtful of who I am, why I stand out. Because ultimately, I think fitting in with everybody else goes against the Jewish spirit. And we see this firsthand with Moses, who we're introduced to in our Parsha this week, Shemot. We start off the book of Exodus. And Moses, as a baby, is othered to a point where he is going to be killed just for being a Hebrew baby boy. By the way, you guys are more than welcome to hang out. There's also a kids' room, too, if they want to play with some toys, read some books, in case my sermon's boring. I don't mind at all. I sometimes find it boring. But you guys are welcome to hang out, too, just wanting to let you know there's that option. So, with Moses, he's born into this sick predicament where he is othered. And then he is sent up the river to be in a palace. Well, he's picked up by the Pharaoh's daughter, Batia, and raised in the palace alongside the Pharaoh. And he grows up this Egyptian prince, speaking Egyptian, and even with an Egyptian name. Moshe is not a Hebrew name. It is an Egyptian name, meaning from the waters. And then one day, he sees a taskmaster beating a Hebrew slave. And at that moment, fitting in is not what Moses wants to do. And he, in his fury, he lashes out and strikes the taskmaster and kills him. And it doesn't stop here. Fearing for his life, he then flees into the desert. And he sees a Midianite woman who's being harassed and picked on at a well. And he stands up for her too. So it's not just that it has to be a fellow Jew. He just does not feel comfortable standing idly by or fitting in with everybody else when there's bullying going on. And so he comes to their defense, also these Midianite princesses, and one of them he ends up marrying. And that's essential, I think, to what it means to be a part of the covenant of the people of Israel. We are the ones who stand out. We are the ones who will push back. We are the ones who will wrestle with God as Jacob did. And these decisions aren't without consequences. It leads to Moses' life being in danger, to him losing all of his wealth and his home and etc. And it's something very similar to what we see in the story of Purim with Queen Esther, where Queen Esther she doesn't lose all these things, but she risks losing all these things, even though she could have remained silent and just fit in with everybody else as a Persian woman. Again, she's somebody with a Persian name, Esther coming from the Persian god Ishtar. And she doesn't stand idly by. And it's worth it. Because ultimately for us, being a Jew means standing out and standing apart. This is what's in our nature. This is why 1 out of every 3 freedom riders who did sit-ins at whites-only cafes, arm in arm with their black brothers and sisters, were American Jews. They didn't have to do that. They could have just quietly fit in as fellow white people. And they chose not to. Isaiah the prophet says that we are supposed to be a light unto the nations of the world. And what that means is that we have to stand apart. So, sure, sometimes that might come at the expense of some alienation or some bullying or, it makes me feel badly that all of our members have to pay a security fee to belong to this synagogue. My last synagogue, here the security fee is $100. When I got here, there was no security fee. My last synagogue, it was $500 per family for an 800-family synagogue. And we spent $400,000 a year on security at that place. And I remember I would drive by church after church after church where you could just walk right in. And I'd ask myself, what could our synagogue be doing if we could spend that $400,000 on something else? It's maddening. It's frustrating. And at the same time, it's worth it not to be like everybody else. It's worth going through risks in order to stand apart and spread a message that's not necessarily always popular, but is right. So that's what Isaiah means when he says that we're supposed to be a light unto the nations. And that's why we stand apart, and that's why in our book on Jewish ethics, Pirkei Avot, which is 2,000 years old, it says, in a place where there is no humanity, it is incumbent upon you to strive to be human. Remember that. In a place where there is no humanity, you need to be the one who's human. And that's what Moses does. That's what we see Moses do this week. And not just Moses. Even before him, what saves his life is the very first act of social justice that we read about in ever. With 2 women, Shiphrah and Puah, who are told to drown every Hebrew boy in the Nile River, and they refuse to do so and practice civil disobedience. They stand apart. And look what happens because they stand apart and refuse to fit in with everybody else. They save Moses. And the great Jewish philosopher Ahad Ha'am was once asked, well, there's no proof outside the Torah that Moses existed. So what if Moses never existed? And Ahad Ha'am said Moses did exist. Because even if there is not proof that Moses existed, guess what? The story of Moses, the character of Moses, has done more to change the world than any other human being that has ever existed before. So therefore, Moses is real. And whether there was a man named Moses or there was not, he's real. Because he changed the world and he changed history. And that wouldn't have happened had Shifra and Pua said, we must be like everybody else. So perhaps it's a little less courageous. But as I said, being a Jewish person at Christmas in Utah feels like that too. It makes us very aware that we aren't like everyone else. But unlike these folks who said, well, maybe we should be, let's remember that that's not necessarily the case. Because ultimately, we talk about how we're the chosen people. Maybe that's what chosenness is all about. Not saying that we are inherently better than anybody else, but rather we are the ones who strive to stand apart. And when we stand apart, we are aware of our uniqueness, we are aware of our personal holiness, and we're aware that we have a role in changing the world around us. Shabbat Shalom. See my friend Dov DeLay in their Hanukkah hairy hat. Like it. Dov, would you like to make some announcements on behalf of the Board of Trustees? Good to see you, my friend. Got that? Okay. Go ahead. There you go.
But I'm using an illegal device here. Hello to all the Zoom Jews out there. My friend Pete sent me a joke this week, and I just had to share it. It says, a guy goes to the dentist because the teeth in his dentures were coming loose, both in the upper and lower plates. The dentist asks, what do you eat? And the patient said, what does that have to do with anything? The dentist says, bear with me, just tell me what you eat. Well, I have eggs Benedict with hollandaise sauce every morning, asparagus with hollandaise sauce at noon, and stop, says the dentist. That is the problem. Hollandaise sauce is loaded with lemon juice. It is highly acidic, and it's loosening the teeth. I'll make you a new set out of chrome. And the guy asks, will that help? He says, the dentist replied, there's no plates like chrome for the hollandaise. I had to, I'm sorry, I had to. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thanks to our rabbi and our cantor for leading and teaching us this evening. There's only 1 week left in our high holiday appeal, okay? And we're close to reaching our goal. There's a little thermometer you can follow, and remember, it's the end of the year, it's tax deductible. These funds help us to provide our community with quality services, programming, and support those in need. We are very grateful for those of you that have made your donations. If you haven't yet donated, your investment with us helps us reach our goals. If you're planning your year-end donations, consider us, please. Save the dates for Shabbat Shirah service and dinner, Friday, January 14th. And Cantor is going to be doing some extra special singing and dancing, and we might end up having salmon that night. We'll see. A discussion of Faye Lincoln's new book, Values That Shape the Word, Ancient Precepts, Modern Concepts, on Tuesday, January 18th. We love our Faye Lincoln, our local famous author, and that'll be a special presentation. Mitzvah Day on Sunday, January 23rd. We're going to do all sorts of good deeds in the community and help our community, as we love to do, and learn how to make challah on Wednesday, January 26th. Check your announcements and your emails and our website for more information. Join us after services for an Oneg Shabbat. Remember to keep your mask on unless you're actively eating or drinking. If you'd like to sponsor a Kiddush, host a special event, or volunteer to set up Kiddushim on Saturday mornings, please contact the office. For our guests here tonight, return your lanyards to the basket on the table in the lobby and join us in some wonderful little treats afterwards. As always, we thank our volunteers and donors for everyone, for all that you do for us and help us fulfill our mission and our vision. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much, Dov. Appreciate you and all you do, and the humor. There you go. Blame on Pete. We are going to resume our service on page 586 with Aleinu. We're going to pray the Aleinu at the bottom of the page. By the way, just a little teaching I'll quickly give you, because it's like, well, why do we have so many Aleinu? If you look at it, there's an Aleinu on the top of the page, Aleinu on the bottom of the page, and an Aleinu on the top of page 587. Well, the reason why is, to connect that to my sermon, is that the one on the bottom of 586 is actually the more traditional one, which talks about how the Jewish people were separated from all other people in the world when God gave us the Torah. And that made some Reformed Jews uncomfortable. And they wrote the text of, on page 586. Well, not just Reformed Jews, but other Jews too. And that was more egalitarian and didn't talk about our particularness. I prefer the one on page 58, the bottom 586. I like the particularistic one. And the reason why is because I am, as I indicated in my sermon, I'm a particularist. I don't think there's anything wrong with standing apart and being proud of who you are and the special relationship we have with God. What I'm not is an exceptionalist. An exceptionalist would think you're better than everybody else. That's not what that means. That's not how I interpret the bottom of 586. I interpret it as saying we should be proud to be who we are, and we should be proud to be different and have a unique, different relationship with God too. So that's a little teaching on prayer. We're on bottom of 586. I invite you to rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שמנה חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המעולם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
You may be seated. This time we think of those who come before who are no longer physically among us, but who are still in our hearts and minds day by day. If you hear a name of a loved one, you are invited to rise upon hearing that name. In Period Shloshim, 30-day period of mourning, we remember Jenya Sasonkin, Leroy Hines, Sheldon Blattner, and Leroy Hines is the brother of Vicky Hines, and Sheldon Blattner, father of Gail Kaplan, and also Jerry Means. And this week, we observe the following Yortzeit anniversary of the passing of these loved ones. Lily Mildred Goldstein Anisman, Morris Arnovitz, Libby Bonsick, Daniel Bornstein, Franklin Joel Burney, Joe Kahn, Max Cowlett, Walter Daniel, Isidore Eisen, Valerie Fields, Leon Fleischer, Harry L. Friedman, Allison White Gamble, Nathan Gilman, Malcolm Goldberg, Elizabeth Muriel Hillis, Rachel Hinderman, Melvin Hirschman, Marlene Isaacson, Israel Mayer Isaacson, Irving Mayer Isaacson, Leo Jacobson, Jack Kapp, Arthur Krinsky, Lynn Luskin, Ruth Marcus, Samuel S. Matz, Bonnie Lee May, Steve Methner, Hattie Nathan, Raymond Pedersen, Barry Lynn Pepper, Milton Pepper, Louis Rosenthal, Molly Saperstein, Gene Schulman, Robert Siegel, Ruth Smith, Roel Soria Sr., Rose Axelrod Stone, Louis D. Tannenbaum, Magda Weidenfeld, Ellen Whitting, Pauline Gus Wolke, and Hartina Zabirnia. And if you have a name to add when I look in your direction, you're welcome to share with our community. And if you are at home and you have a name to add, I invite you to share that name this time. Zichronam Livracha, may all their memories be for a blessing. If you are in mourning or it's your tradition to do so, I invite you to rise. We are on page 598. Yikadal, Yikadash, Shemei Rabbah,
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach yirteh, v'imlech malchuteh, v'chayechon of yomechon of chayedechol be'Yisrael, v'hagala v'isman kari v'imru. Amen. Yeshmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei olmaya, yet barach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemedikusha b'richu, le'ela mikol bechata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nehemata, Da'amiram be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yesh lama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, Uya say shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. We will, at this time, conclude with a song. How about we turn to page 628? You're thinking Yigdal?
Yes, a traditional one, but not the full text.
Go for it, Cantor. 628.
יגדל אלוהים חי וישתבח נמצא בעיני המציאותו אחד בן יחיד לאיחודו נעלם וגם אין סוף לאחדותו אין לו דמות תגור ואין לו גוף קונה ארוך ולאו קדושתו קדמון לכל דבר אשר נברא לישון ואין ראשית לראשיתו הינו אדון עולם וכבוד צר יורה גדולתו ומלכותו שפע נבואתו נדענו אל אנשי סגולתו ותפארתו לא קם בישראל כמו שעוד נביא ומביט את אמונתו קראתם את נתה לעמואל על יד נביאו למען ביתו לא יכל לפעל ולא ימיר דתו לעולמים לזולתו צופה ויודע סדרנו מביט לסוף דבר קטנתו דומה לאיש חסד כמפעלו נותן לרשע רע כרישתו ישלח לקץ ימים עדות עולם כל חי ואיש יכיר ישועתו חיי עולם נטע בתוכנו ברוך הדעה שם תהילתו מתים יחייב ברוב חסדו ברוך הדעת שם תהילתו.
Please rise for Kiddush. Like the,
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצבנו, ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון להנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה וראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר יציאת מצרים, כי באנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen. L'chaim.
L'chaim. And I'd like to thank Fedor, by the way, for being here and helping us, as always, behind the scenes, set everything up. He's a great guy. Lucky to have him. And, oops, that's covered. I always ask them to take that out, but people don't listen to me. And so, as I get this open, here we go. It's a wonderful challah made by our friend Moshe. Then we will say, Motzi. Go ahead, Cantor.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המוציא לחם מן הארץ בתיאבון.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
בתיאבון, שבת שלום. שבת שלום, שבת שלום, שבת, 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 שבת שלום, שבת שלום, שבת שלום, שבת, 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 שבת שלום. Shabbos.
Shabbat shalom.